after a summer of utter chaos engulfing the government and the nation. Christmases were ruined, holidays disrupted, families separated and isolated. The testing crisis, where sick Australians queued for hours or days, trudged from chemist to chemist, desperate to get a test to protect themselves, their family and their incomes. The crisis in aged care accelerated outbreaks across the nation. The testing infrastructure and the workforce collapsed. The supermarket shelves were emptied. You couldn't get chicken in Coles. Businesses were closed, supply chains collapsed, and the shadow lockdown took hold across most of the country. Not Western Australia, which I think the Deputy Prime Minister described as North Korea. Summer was okay over there. But it didn't have to be like this. It shouldn't have been like this. If only the Prime Minister had done his job. If he'd focused on Australians, planned, prepared and delivered. But instead, while chaos raged, the government has been consumed day by day, fighting, focusing on themselves, not the nation. Now, the karma bus, or truth, has finally caught up with the Prime Minister in the last few weeks. The astounding revelations of secret texts revealed, Deputy Speaker, revealing what those closest to the Prime Minister really think of him. His good friend, Gladys Berejiklian, a horrible, horrible person, more concerned with politics than people, she said about him. Well, with friends like that, who needs enemies? With friends like that, I'd hate to meet his enemies. A cabinet minister who still hasn't outed themselves over there, wanting the world to know they consider the Prime Minister, the leader of their government, a complete psycho. But the next one, Deputy Speaker, I admit, is tricky. I have to choose my words carefully under the standing orders, as the Speaker just reminded us in question time. You can't call the Prime Minister or any other member in here a liar or a fraud. Fake's okay, but it's funny, isn't it? On the front of every newspaper, on every radio station, on every television channel, it's blaring, but I can't quote precisely what the Deputy Prime Minister actually thinks about the Prime Minister. Little hint, it sounds like Fryer, the old town crier, Dunlop Tyre. Malcolm Turnbull said he had a reputation for crying. The French president, I don't think I know what he meant, and I'm not even going to try and go near what Michael Keenan said about the Prime Minister in Nikki Savva's book. You look that up for yourself. I do recommend it. But the truth is, any Australian could have written these texts. Every Australian knows well. The Prime Minister goes missing when it counts, and you can't believe a word he says. Now, it might sound strange, but this is where the government's at. The fact that they hate each other, they fight amongst themselves, that every day is like a new montage from Mean Girls is not the real problem. The Prime Minister's character, his pattern of mendacity, is not the real problem, or as Winston Churchill said, a terminological inexactitude is not the real problem. The real problem now is the impact on Australians, Deputy Speaker, and on our nation, because the Prime Minister's not doing his job. The government is focused on itself, not on governing. It's as simple and sad as that. But his pattern's well established. For every problem, it's someone else's fault. Every crisis, someone else's responsibility, and eventually every response is too little too late, driven by politics, not people. It's the same formula. We now see it. It's gone on for long enough. You can see it. Denies and disregards, he disappears, he distracts, he deflects, he divides, and then when he acts, it's deficient and he's derelict in his duty. That's it. His denial and his disregarding is dangerous now. We saw it in the bushfires, the vaccine rollout, the rapid antigen testing crisis over summer. Didn't meet with the fire chiefs, didn't order the aircraft, the aerial bombers that they said they needed, didn't order the vaccines. He told Australians we're at the front of the queue. We never forget that. That wasn't true, though, was it? Now, I'm not going to say which queue it was. It wasn't the close one, it was the far one. Wouldn't meet with the CEO of Pfizer, and he didn't order the rapid antigen tests. Every developed nation in the world had their government secure the supplies in a competitive market. He was warned. That's the common theme with all of this. He was warned on the bushfires, he was warned on the vaccines, and he was warned on the tests, and he did not learn from his mistakes. And on distribution, when he finally acted too little too late, he's chosen to put private profit over public health. Rapid antigen tests should be freely available, Deputy Speaker, on Medicare. That's how we do health in this country. He ignores the problem until it becomes a crisis. Then, after that doesn't work, he tries disappearing, hiding under the doona. Derelict. He goes missing for days or sometimes weeks, as we've seen. Saw it in the bushfires, went to Hawaii, then his office lied about it, The quarantine, the vaccines, the lockdowns, the rolling lockdowns because of the Prime Minister across most of the country, every state and territory last year, he was always nowhere to be seen at the peak of the crisis when we needed him most. And the testing, just hoping things go away. And then we get the distractions and the diversions, the photo ops,